Hi, thanks for joining me again. This video will be discussing inland versus overseas application when you want to submit a spousal sponsorship or common law application. Inland is exactly that. You're submitting it while you're inside Canada. Now, there's a sponsor and then there's the applicant. When I talk about inland, we're talking about the applicant being inside Canada. The sponsor has the flexibility of being inside, outside, or both places. It doesn't matter. It's the applicant. It's the person who you're sponsoring has to physically be in Canada. And the key here is that you have to remain in Canada throughout the process of the application. The application for a spousal sponsorship is about 12 months, give or take. So you have to be prepared to remain in Canada throughout the duration. If you exit, there could be a problem. If you're not allowed entry back into the country, all that time and money you spend to submit the inland is now null and void because you're no longer physically in the country. So avoid short trips of vacation and so forth for the next 12 months. I only recommend over a client exiting Canada if it's absolutely urgent, there's an emergency, and after discussing it with me, and I say, yes, it's possible because of your citizenship. So again, if you're submitting an inland, remain inside Canada. Overseas application is a bit tricky. Overseas means the application gets submitted outside of Canada, but the applicant can be inside Canada or outside of Canada. So for example, the applicant is American citizen and 6 months at a time wishes to stay with his or her partner in Canada, then go back to the US, come back, exit, etc. In that situation, it's recommended that the application is submitted overseas in the United States because the applicant is traveling back and forth. And so there's many situations where a client says, okay, I'm going to submit overseas even though a chunk of my time is spent inside Canada. So what are the benefits of inland versus overseas and vice versa? Inland means the biggest advantage is you are eligible to obtain an open spousal work permit. This is key because the processing for spousal sponsorship is about 12 months. So what do you do within those 12 months? Well, hopefully you've submitted an open spousal work permit with the application and you obtain this so you can be productive and work in Canada while you're here. The other good thing about inland is that once you obtain the open spousal work permit, you'd be eligible for some benefits like healthcare and so forth. You would be able to go to school, etc. An overseas application doesn't have this benefit. So going back to the example I just stated about this American traveling back and forth, even though he or she is spending 6 months at a time in Canada, because the application is submitted in the US, they will not be eligible for the open spousal work permit. And so again, most of those applicants that do that, they travel for business or they really don't care for the open work permit anyways. What are the downfalls of inland applications? Well, the downfall is that you're stuck in Canada for some time. And so not that that's a bad thing, but for those who need to travel for business or those who do travel frequently, of course, inland is not recommended. The other downfall is the appeal process. If you submit an inland application, you are not eligible to appeal the application. And this means if the application is rejected, it's rejected, which means you cannot take it to the next level. And that's a big con. But there is, again, a different way of going about it. It's called judicial review to the federal court. That you're eligible to do. And so do watch my video on that, on how you could do a judicial review because you don't have appeal rights. For overseas, the downfall is that the processing time usually is quite lengthy. So that's the biggest downfall for overseas. So check CIC's website and look at the processing time. Some countries are 12 months, others are 2 years. And so inland, 99% is about 12 months, give or take. The other downfall for overseas is that interviews will most likely be requested. And so that is the reason why there's a delay. Versus inland, even though you can get an interview, majority of the time the officer waives that requirement. And so it expedited the process. And it makes sense because with inland, you're most likely with your partner in Canada, living together for 12 months, proving the genuineness, you communicate every day. And so why would the interview be required? Versus overseas, your partner is in Canada, you're overseas, the officer wants to make sure that your relationship is genuine. If you have any questions on how to submit and where to submit, please do give me a call. Thank you very much, and until next time.